Good evening, race fans, and welcome back to the Porsche Cup Challenge, the multi-class sports car racing league here at Detroit Grand Prix Belle Isle, where we're going to get things started for quite an exciting event on the road course. As always, I'm your host, James Eastspring, the Action 1080p, 60 frames a second. On behalf of Team Goon Squad Broadcasting, it looks like drivers getting set up and underway here. Let's run through the grid. Starting on pole for the GTP drivers, Charlie Pouliot. He's accompanied by Aiden Young, the 427. Jack Buster will be starting third overall, third in class, number 32. And Carl Rimming will be starting fourth overall in the GTP. Starting on pole for the PCC drivers, fifth overall, it's Jeff Seville. Dan McFarland starting sixth. Michael McLeod starting seventh. Adam Schmidt starting eighth. Bill Haynes starting ninth. Dan Morera starting 10th. Tyler Sage Anderson starting 11th. Julian Swanson starting 12th. Let's cycle it on back to Michael Carrillo starting 13th. Jose Maria starts 14th. Young Choi starting 15th. Gary Watson starting 16th. Tyler Maraglia starting 17th. Emmanuel Ojo starting 18th. And Vlad Sanchez will round out the 19-car grid here today. Waiting for a few more drivers to get out onto the grid, and then we'll get things started here. And it looks like the grid is just about set. So 4 GTP drivers, 15 Porsche Cup challengers here today at Belle Isle, as we will follow along our iRacing safety car. Now, I believe this is the first race that I have personally called here at Belle Isle. It's going to be exciting to see how this one works. Now, not as much room as we are underway, and already huge problems for Charlie Pouliot. Takes a tow back to pit road. He is done and out of this thing. He's going to have to use the fast repair, so a bit of early excitement here. My, oh my, I wasn't expecting this much carnage early on, but already the GTP class drivers are going to get whittled down. Jack Buster is going to take over the lead here as Pouliot makes it into the pits. We've also got more problems. Choi in the number 8 machine has problems down 4 spots. Off in the runoff area, gets that thing slung around. And back out on track. So let's go to our PCC drivers. Jeff Seville currently leading here with Dan McFarland second, Michael McLeod sitting in third. Now, what we were trying to say before the carnage kicked off early here, not a lot of overtaking room for these drivers, especially once we start running to lap traffic. Going to be mighty exciting to see how this one pans out. Now, at COTA, we had plenty of long stretches for drivers to pick and choose their passes a little bit carefully. Not so much here at Belle Isle. You see the concrete walls and not a ton of runoff real estate. Jack Buster, last time by a 120. Now Carl Rimming also down pit road. I'm wondering if he maybe had some damage after that incident with Charlie Pouliot. Now Pouliot is back out on track, but that's going to put Jeff Seville up into third overall as he is first in class with the Porsche Cup Challenge drivers. We have some pretty tight racing out on track. We're focusing on Emmanuel Ojo. Had a little bit of a wiggle there trying to track down Tyler Maraglia in the 226. That'll be the battle for 12th in Porsche Cup Challenge. A little bit further ahead, Dan Morera trying to catch up to the back of Michael Carrillo. That'll be the battle for 7th in class. Morera chased by Swanson as well as Maria, but we noticed on live timing, Swanson having a bit of connection issues. And that's never a good thing, but a road course can be a little bit worse as you're so tightly packed in here. And really just one incident will be enough to cause a full course blockage. Now our GTP drivers, Buster and Young, already getting down to the 118s. Young in the fastest lap, a 118.1 compared to Buster's 0.61. Well, our PCC drivers clicking off about a minute 33 second lap times is what we're seeing at the tippy top of the field. Ooh, hearing some body work getting abused here as well. Something has happened to Gary Watson, losing a couple spots, and Jose Maria. Vlad Sanchez involved in an incident, the number 2 machine. Now let's focus back to this battle. Maraglia, Ribbing, Maria, all here. Now Charlie Pierre is going to be slicing through the field here. That was also Carl Ribbing blitzing by. Gotta love the Barbie bag number 44 machine. Oh, a huge lock off into the runoff. Gonna get that thing fired back around. Let's see if he can get some clean track to rejoin here. And he is gonna have to cut through the field once more. What is that view? A bit of a massive blur there. Not sure why. That was Charlie Pierre cutting through the field after his early incident. It's fallen all the way back to 10th position. Started this race at the very top spot. But a load of PCC drivers ahead of him. And he is going to try and muscle through here. But we think he's already used that fast repair. So has to be very mindful of when he picks his passes. One more incident could spell the end of the night for the 444 machine. Looking for an opening up the inside line, but not quite able to find it here. So got to be frustrating for Charlie. He knows he has the pace to run at the very front of this field, but now with lap traffic, or I guess late lap traffic, after his early incident. Oh, there we go. Starting to find some clean track for the 444 machine. There goes Bill Haynes. Haynes running 5th in class and now 8th overall. I'm wondering, we're already seeing headlights on these cars, how much darker it's going to get into this main event. And if this is going to be becoming a total night race. Up front, Jack Buster still chased by Aiden Young. 7/10 separating the two. Both drivers running almost identical lap times, already down in the 117 mark. And cutting through traffic here. Now, I'm curious what the story is going to be for Charlie Pierre. Is he going to be able to catch up? We just saw him get around Dan McFarland. And he is right in tow between class leader Jeff Seville. Bill has a comfortable 1 second gap up over Dan McFarland. Julian Swanson still facing connection issues, but we might have a battle for the lead shaping up. Jack Buster tucked in behind traffic here. As Aiden Young looks for any sort of opening, Young is going to follow Buster through traffic. I think tonight, this 50-minute main event is definitely going to come down to traffic management, picking those passes carefully and not putting yourself in too dangerous of a spot. As I say that, oh man, these guys are just blitzing through. And I wonder if Tom Maraglia might have gotten some help from the faster class cars. We saw Aiden Young blowing through. But Young, a man on a mission, has whittled it down to within 2/10 of Jack Buster. Ooh, Young, a little bit of a bump there to the outside wall. It looks like they're about to catch traffic once more. That's going to be Anderson, Swanson, Barrera, 10th, 11th, 12th for our Porsche Cup Challenge drivers. And man, are these guys, I mean, we're only not even 8 laps into a 50-minute feature event. Buster and Young linked up nose to tail, have put over half the field a lap down here. A white knuckle moment as I saw Young look for an opening that wasn't there. That was against Tyler Anderson, running 7th in class, 10th overall. Oh, and I don't know how much more distance you can have. Aiden Young giving a little bit of a push there to Jack Busser. There goes Adam Schmidt running 4th in class, but there was not a lot of real estate there for Young as we go on board the 2nd overall driver. He's been keeping the pressure on Busser for the last several laps here and really not giving that number 32 machine much of a break. Now Young qualified 2nd overall while Jack is up 2 spots. And I'm not sure maybe if either driver is in an easier situation. Busser being the first one to cut through the field here, that gives a little bit of a heads up to the drivers that, hey, we've got faster class cars coming through now. They may be seeing the blue flag in time, but the speed differential is shockingly fast. If we have whittled it down to 3 drivers on the lead lap, it's Busser, Young, and Pouillet. Pouillet about 52 seconds behind Busser at this point. Now, if we go back and check in on our Porsche Cup Challenge drivers, still great racing. We're focused in on Bill Haynes, who has Michael Carrillo, and there goes Carl Ribbing slicing back through the field. And the Barbie-backed 44 machine, Todd Maraglia, unfortunately takes a tow to pit road. He's involved in another incident and might be forced to taking that machine back behind the wall for a little bit further repairs. Anderson has the hammer down. He can see Haynes, Carrillo not too far ahead. Trying to make it a 2-for-1 pass now. If Anderson can grab these positions, he will move up into a top 5 in class. But it's a very busy raceway as Carrillo almost gets a little bit of help as we see some parts going exploding behind. Not quite sure what that was. I don't know if that was a little bit of iRacing shenanigans, but we saw parts getting scattered everywhere. I almost wonder if that's Julian Swanson 51 machine. Yep, that's exactly what it is. When he lags and reappears back on the circuit, throwing hard parts everywhere. Gary Watson, Young Choi were involved in an incident. Carl Ribbing's going to come back down pit road for his 2nd stop of the night. We pan the camera back to this very heated battle for a top 5 in PCC. You've got Carrillo, Haynes, Anderson, Swanson, all linked up nose to tail. Way up in the distance, you can see Adam Schmidt. He's 4th in class in the number 12. Now, for the most part, it's been a fairly clean race. You have 2 drivers with extended stays on pit road. Carl Ribbing coming out of pit road. Todd Maraglia has been in his pit stall for 2 minutes so far, trying to get that machine serviceable once more. But we saw it last week at COTA. Just because you're involved in an early incident doesn't mean you're out of the count. We go on board Bill Haynes, the number 89 machine. He's down 1 position from where he started in class. Started 5th in the PCC, currently running 6th, 9th overall. When you can hear how aggressive the curving is on these machines. Now I'm surprised Julian Swanson hasn't made an attempt at 7th, but with the connection issues of Swanson, I'm wondering if he's hesitant to pull up alongside the 115 of Anderson, knowing he has those internet issues in play. Ooh, Anderson, a bit of a tag to the outside wall. Have to be very careful on these Porsches not to damage any suspension. And I think, as I say that, Swanson had, a bit of a bobble there. It's going to fall back about 2.5 seconds. We check in on race leader Jeff Seville. He's enjoying some clean track out there today. Number 3 machine has a 4.6 second advantage over Dan McFarland. We pan back to McFarland. Not the same story. Michael McLeod, the number 15, keeping the pressure on him here. Michael McLeod down pit road. It looks like Michael Carrillo will do the same. So a bit of an early stop here for these drivers. Only 14 minutes in. We check back in on Jack Busser. Leading the overall. It's just 3 GTPs on the lead lap. Busser has built up a 3.5 second advantage. Now, if you remember a few laps prior, Aiden Young was keeping the pressure. Had him within about 0.2 of a second, but looks like Busser was able to keep momentum. And we get the report. Bill Haynes, the number 89 machine, in the runoff. Waiting for some clean track here, I think. There goes the Emmanuel Ojo. And Haynes pulls back out on track, but that's going to cost him 5 positions, both in class and the overall. Other racing going on out track. Michael McLeod out of pit road. Right behind Jose Maria as we've got GTPs flying by. Well, McLeod keeping the pressure here on Maria. Now after that pit stop, McLeod only spent about 8.9 seconds in his pit stall. And it's starting to make moves here. Swanson not too far ahead. I believe that's Aiden Young right behind, working his way through in the GTP as he runs second overall. McLeod has made his way around Maria. He's about 2 seconds back from Carl Ribbing, who's starting again to try and get some momentum going. And that will not be the case as Ribbing parks in the runoff. Michael McLeod will pass yet another GTP driver. Back up front, Jack Busser. Clicking off laps, making it look easy. We are 14 laps in this 50-lap main event. And the field's starting to get a little bit stretched out. The 2 closest drivers out on track. Young Choi, the number 8, versus Gary Watson in the 64. Julian Swanson running, I believe, 9th in class, still really struggling with the connection issues is going to be very, very difficult to pass that number 51 machine with how tight the raceway is. And it looks like Watson doing a good job keeping Choi at bay here. Has built that advantage back up to around a half a second. And Carl Ribbing, man, it's been an uphill battle here for Ribbing. He's just getting around Swanson, trying to get around Michael McLeod, but it's been cascading issues for the bright pink number 44, running 4th in class, 10th overall. Ribbing working back into 9th overall, but he is about 3 minutes, almost 3 minutes and 10 seconds behind the race leader, Jack Busser. We go back up front to check on that 32 machine. He's built up a 7.4 second advantage. Now, going to be curious to see what the pit windows are for these GTP drivers. And let's pan back to Ribbing. I mean, you can't look away. He just gets around Dan Morera. Morera's running 5th in class in PCC. Ribbing's going to move up to 8th overall. But again, we saw this at COTA. Even if you have an early incident in the race, you can still bring it home. I mean, the last week, anybody in the top 5 in either class was all but decided until the very end. And it seems like so far at Belle Island, it has definitely been solo car incidents causing the problems. Adam Schmidt, 3rd in class for PCC, comes down pit road. Anderson will snag that position. So I think with all things created equal, if Ribbing can get some laps going here and a little bit of consistent momentum, I think he still might be in this to battle for the podium by the time it's all said and done. And speaking of battle, Gary Watson has not been able to shake off Young Choi or Michael Carrillo. That's going to be a 3-car battle for 10th in PCC, 14th overall. And a little bit of contact there, I think, as the field stacks up around Gary Watson. Now up front, Jack Busser feeling more and more comfortable, clicks off the fastest lap of the race, a 1:17.09, almost a full 2/10 faster, but look at that. Aiden Young has all sorts of traffic ahead. He's trying to fight through the PCC drivers who are in a 3-car battle for 10th, but looking for any opening he can here in that 427. Is he gonna snake through? Yes, he does. Young makes it clear, as he's going to get ahead of that battle of Watson, Choi, and Carrillo. And where did Young go? We've got a missing Aiden Young here. It shows that he came down pit road, but for some reason not being rendered on the broadcast here. Carl Ribbing has worked his way back up to 5th overall, getting around Dan McFarland, who is 2nd in class for PCC. Now, I'm curious to see, with Young coming down pit road on lap 18, 23 minutes in, can he make this a one-stop race, or is he going to have to fuel up here at the end? We'll have to keep an eye out on as well. Jack Buster, the overall leader in the 32, see when he comes down pit road. If he can make that 25-minute mark, has a very good chance of making this a one-stop race. Here is Jeff Seville just ahead of Carl Ribbing with a hearty contact to the wall. Seville leading the PCC class drivers with a comfortable 6.6 second lead. Ribbing, with a lot of determination, has worked his way back up into the top 4 overall. Gary Watson down pit road, the number 64 machine. Jeff Seville leading the class, still a very comfortable advantage. 7 seconds up over Dan McFarland, Tyler Anderson, 3rd in class for our PCC drivers. Just about to the halfway mark of today's main event. Jeff Seville, the class leader for PCC down pit road. That's going to put Dan McFarland, Tyler Anderson up into the top spots in class. Seville rolls back out on track, 3rd in position, right behind Anderson's 115 machine. So Seville in a good spot. The 2 drivers ahead of him right now with the track position yet to come down pit road for their pit stops. Michael McLeod, a bit of an undercut. He came down pit road on lap 9. And was in his pit stall for just shy of 9 seconds. Let's see if Seville is going to hammer down here, or maybe play it patient behind Anderson, knowing that 115 has yet to box here today. Seville very comfortable hucking that Porsche over the curves here at Belle Isle. The Detroit Grand Prix lending itself to some good racing. Now, again, this is a racetrack I don't believe I've called at before. Much less turn to lap at. It looks like a ton of fun, but not a lot of margin for any sort of errors out here today. Anderson holding on tight. He wants to guard that 2nd place spot as long as he can, but I think Seville just has the pace here. Anderson, to his credit, up 5 positions from where he started here tonight, but hard charger is going to be Emmanuel Ojo so far in the 458 Porsche Cup Challenge car. He's up 6 positions, now running 12th overall, 8th in class. Seville pulls up alongside and takes the inside line. You can see the rear rotors glowing on that number 3 machine. While this was happening, Dan McFarland up front pulled almost 3 seconds into his favor. And that could be a factor once McFarland comes down pit road. Now we've passed the halfway mark of the evening. Check back in on Jack Busser. Had just made his way around class leader Dan McFarland. McFarland continues to stay out though. Only, I believe, 1 driver on pit road as it sits. Tom Maraglia, the 226, has been there for 14 and a half minutes now. It looked like Julian Swanson, the number 51 machine, did eventually retire. I would wager that was a connectivity issue. Carrillo, the number 29 machine, takes a look alongside Choi's number 8. And what a beautiful pass from Carrillo, setting that up against Choi. That's going to be the 9th place position in class that Carrillo has taken over. Dan Morera in and out of his pit stall in 9.6 seconds. Most drivers have already boxed at this point, but it's interesting. Class leader, overall leader, Jack Buster, the number 32, with a 50-second advantage over Aiden Young, has yet to box. And Dan McFarland, class leader for PCC, with about a 23-second advantage, has yet to box either. Now, when Charlie Pouilliere came down pit road on lap 1, he was in and out of pit lane in 22.5 seconds. A very short stop. Aiden Young, 42.59 seconds by the time he crossed the entry cones to the time he passed the exit cones. I'm interested to see how long Jack Buster, that number 32, is going to spend on pit road and how that will affect the race. In theory, I think he would come out about 7 seconds ahead of Aiden Young. But we know Young has great pace. I mean, he was putting the pressure on Buster early on, as we just watched Young Choi, I think, maybe driving in the rearview mirror a little bit, as Buster was right in tow and then just kind of tiptoes into the runoff. There goes Bill Haynes, the number 89 machine, gaining the 10th in class position. The field very spread out here as we check back in on Dan McFarland. 22.6 second advantage over Jeff Seville, who qualified in pole for class. Now this is the point, with about 20 minutes left to go in this feature event, driver attrition will start to play a factor. And as we've already seen, one little bobble, one little mistake is all it takes to end a race, especially with those concrete walls so incredibly close to the track surface. But if you reference the track map in the bottom right hand corner of your screen, Dan McFarland's got a lot of clean track ahead of him. You can see 12th place driver in class, Vlad Sanchez, almost a full straightaway back, and you can see the 9th and 10th place drivers, 10th and 11th, that's Bill Haynes, Young Choi, about, I believe, 20 seconds ahead of McFarland. And McFarland's pace very good, still maintaining that advantage over Seville here. So far, I mean, tonight looks like it's going to be a race based on pit strategy, as we're still waiting for a few very fast drivers to come down pit road. Now, while this is going on, Bill Haynes has not been able to shake Choi. We saw Choi get a little bit spooked, use the runoff area, but doing a good job keeping Haynes in his sights. Haynes, the number 89, down 5 spots from where he started. Choi running, on the other hand, exactly where he qualified. Now Jack Busser, the overall race leader, is down pit road with 18 minutes left to go in this main event. So let's keep an eye on those pit lane times. He came down pit road with almost a 50-second advantage over Young. Tom Maraglia rolls out of pit road after 20 minutes. He's only completed 7 laps so far. Let's pan back to Aiden Young, see where he's going to be at. Now Young came down pit road a bit of an undercut on lap 17. Jack Busser rolls back out on track. He spent 20 seconds in his pit stall, just about 44 seconds from the time he crossed the entry commitment cones by the time he rolled out of pit road. We were guessing it's going to be about 8 seconds in the favor of Busser by the time these pit cycles were complete. Looks like it's going to be closer to 12 here. Now Young's going to really have to hope that maybe the race leader, that number 32 machine, gets tied up with a little bit of lap traffic. Now he has gained about a half second on Busser here. Tyler Anderson down pit road. Still waiting on Dan McFarland leading the PCC drivers to box. Like for a brief moment, Young was stepping the back end out there, working through the field. I believe he knows with about 15 minutes left, a little bit over 15 minutes, he's got to hammer down here if he wants to catch up to Busser on pace. That 11-second advantage is starting to dwindle ever so slightly. And I got a race report as well that Dan Morera, here we go, pulls up alongside Emmanuel Ojo. And that will be the battle for 7th in class, 11th overall. Emmanuel still our hard charger though, up 6 positions in that 458 machine. What is going on here? The live timing tells the story. Only 8 seconds in closing fast, separating Young from Jack Busser. We could still have a race by the end of this thing. Emmanuel Ojo comes down pit road in the 458. Charlie Pouillier, Dan McFarland down pit road. That is McFarland's first stop of the night. Will that put Jeff Seville back in the race lead for Porsche Cup Challenge? Or is McFarland going to nail the pit stop here? Seville spent just about 11 seconds even in his pit stall on lap 16. 35.9 seconds total from pit lane window to pit lane window. And there goes Seville taking over the race lead. McFarland rolls out of pit road. How far is that number 23 machine going to be behind? Showing about 4.5 seconds to the advantage of Jeff Seville. As let's check back in on race leader Jack Busser. But Jack Busser able to hold on to it here with a 7.6 second advantage to his name. Aiden Young has been closing that gap slowly but surely. But the big question is, will Young have enough time and enough pace? And that's also the other question. Is Jack Busser maybe holding a little bit in reserve here? Gonna be interesting to see if we pan back to Young as we get a report Adam Schmidt gets back out on track, as well as Ojo after his pit stop. Young losing a little bit of time here. The gap has went back to the advantage of Buster, 8.7 seconds. So it's Buster, Young, Puyere leading the GTP class of drivers. For PCC's Jeff Seville first, Dan McFarland second, and Michael McLeod sitting third. Now McLeod would be pretty content with a back-to-back podium here, I think, or being able to maximize those points. As we watch Buster slicing and dicing through traffic once more. Only 3 drivers on the lead lap here at Belle Isle. And Buster has been able to keep his nose clean since the beginning of this race. You see him flashing the high beams of traffic, letting him know, hey guys, I'm coming through here. Jose Maria back out on track after his pit stop for his lap 25, number 21 machine. He's going to fall back to 13th overall. I'm starting to see a report as well. Tyler Anderson may have company here in the 4th place PCC spot. With just about 10 minutes left to go, we see Dan Barrera in the 404 machine starting to close that gap within about 9/10 of a second between the two. There's no traffic up on the horizon. Now Carl Ribbing may catch up to this battle as he runs 4th in class, 4th overall in the not so distant future. And still not sure. All right, here we go. Officially less than 10 minutes left to go. Jack Buster is 7.6 second advantage over Aiden Young. Jeff Seville only a 4.7 second advantage over Dan McFarland. So for the drivers who have any sort of pace left, they are going to hammer down. Still have 18 of our 19 entries out on track. The only driver so far forced into an early retirement, that was Julian Swanson, number 51 PCC driver, who had connection issues from the very beginning here. There goes Carl Ribbing, sliding by very quickly ahead of Anderson. That might give Marrera a little bit of a boost he needs, though, closing the gap to about 3/4 of a second. That's 2/10 back in his favor. I love it when the sun's going down. You can see the rotors start to glow here. Anderson swings the advantage back in his favor, a second to him. Now Todd Maraglia in the 226 machine came down pit road on lap 7. He was in a stall for 20 minutes, but was able to overtake Julian Swanson, who was forced into an early retirement here today. Checking back in, overall race leader Jack Buster. Still 6.8 seconds to his name, up over Aiden Young. 8 minutes left to go here at Belle Isle. A little bit of a curb hop there for the number 32 machine. Has to be careful in these final moments, final laps I should say, to avoid snatching defeat from the jaws of victory. But Buster's been doing a great job really picking his passes carefully, not putting that number 32 machine too much within the vortex of danger. And he's actually catching up to Charlie Puyere. If he catches up to that 444 machine of Puyere, that would be only 2 drivers on the lead lap by the time it's all said and done. Historically, Buster's been running about a second per lap faster. Michael Carrillo, oh. Number 29 machine tries to get that thing turned around, but now he's going to lose a spot to Bill Haynes. And that was Aiden Young blitzing through here. Young, a lot of traffic up ahead. He's trying to muscle his way through, knowing that the lap times are going to be decreasing here, or running out of time, I should more aptly say, to try and catch up to that 32 machine. But the traffic management's so important here. It almost sounded like Buster got a little bit loose there, a little bit sliding around in that 32. But the sun definitely starting to set here in Detroit. I'm curious to see if Jack Buster could make this race where it's only himself and Aiden Young on the lead lap. You can see his target right ahead. That was Charlie Pouillier getting through traffic but leaving a little bit of paint on the wall. Now it's going to be Buster's turn to navigate the same field. Buster putting the power down on that 32 machine. I think Charlie Pouillier's about to give it everything he has here to make sure he can try and finish on the lead lap. It definitely looks to me like Buster sliding around with the rear end a little bit more. Even though he's got fresher tires than Aiden Young, Charlie Pouillier probably has some of the freshest tires out on track, especially for the GTP, as Pouillier came down pit road on lap 27. Five minutes left to go here at Belle Isle. You see the PCC drivers hopping out of the way, and Buster has Pouillier right in his sights. But a big bobble there for the race leader. Jack Buster, too late on the brakes, has to use a bit of the runoff. And look at this, there's Aiden Young suddenly back in the hunt here. 2 seconds off the rear of Jack. We could very well have a battle for the lead in the last 4 minutes here at Belle Isle, the Detroit Grand Prix. That may have been the exact motivation that Young needs here to absolutely hammer down. He's less than 2 seconds behind the overall race leader, and I think Young is not about to wait for anybody. He's got the elbows out, but losing about 0.6 of a second with lap traffic. You just saw Jack on the corner of your screen. Here we go, the possible battle for the overall lead. Just one bobble from that 32 machine suddenly put Young in the 427 right back in the mix. The minutes rapidly dwindling as Jack Buster with the overall and GTP lead. Aiden Young trying to hunt from that second place spot as Charlie Pouillier holds on to third. Jeff Seville with a comfortable lead in the Porsche Cup Challenge class is chased by Dan McFarland in second and Michael McLeod in third. Going to be interesting here. 2.5 seconds separate the overall race leader from Aiden Young, who had a little bit of an advantage. Now we got a report that Tyler Anderson was involved in an incident but did not lose a spot. As you can see, Adam Schmidt closing the gap behind. That could be the battle for fifth in class for PCC. Oh, this is interesting. Jack Busser just clicks off the fastest lap of the race, a 1:16.85. But Aiden Young answers with his own personal fastest, a 1:16.86. So almost identical lap times. This is going to come down to traffic management and a little bit of luck here for the GTP and overall class lead. Oh, and that's not what Young needs, as he gives a hard shot to the outside wall. You can tell he's just giving that machine everything it has. Let's see what Butler's going to do here. Busser, excuse me, is going to do here. We've got 1 minute left to go, so I would imagine the checkered flag will be out next time by. Jack Busser tied up with a little bit of traffic. That is going to rapidly swing things as Aiden Young gains almost a full half, let's call it 0.6 of a second. A lot of lap traffic ahead for Busser. I think that was also Charlie Pouilliere in the 444 machine not too far ahead. This is almost the exact moment that Busser was in, and he is muscling through the Porsche Cup Challenge drivers. Aiden Young tries to follow. He gets stuck with traffic. Things swing back in the favor of Jack Busser. We imagine the checkered flag will be out this time by 1.6 seconds to separate the overall race leader from Aiden Young, who is very hungry here today. Let's see, as we're in the last 0.2 of the racetrack. Just a couple more corners, really one more corner to go. As the checkered flag is out, Jack Busser will bring home the win. Aiden Young with a good effort. 1.2 seconds back. A great run from the 427. Jeff Seville locks up the top spot for the Porsche Cup Challenge. Dan McFarland will get second. And Michael McLeod will round out the third in class for the PCC. Still waiting on Charlie Pouilliere, who's got almost an entire lap to go here. Mathematically, though, I believe he is locked up third place, as Carl Ribbing shows a couple laps down. And it is definitely getting dark here at the Detroit Grand Prix. As Charlie Pouilliere makes his way around the final quarter of Raceway. And getting very dark very quickly out on track for these drivers. And here we go, Pierre gets ready to take the start-finish line. And that should be the results. So for our GTP drivers, it's going to be Aiden Young first, Charlie Pouilliere second, Jack Busser third, with Carl Ribbing rounding out the top four. And then we check out the Porsche Cup Challenge results, where it's Jeff Seville the top spot, Dan McFarland finishing second, and Michael McLeod will round out the top three. On behalf of the Porsche Cup Challenge, as well as TeamGoonsquad.com, my name has been James East. Thank you so much for enjoying the show, and I'll see you at the next one. Have a great night, everybody.